is really cool about summertime? The barbecues, fresh fruit, the long days, and the gatherings we make with family and friends. We gather at parks, weddings, graduations, family reunions, camping trips, and so forth. Something I noticed is when we gather, we usually break into different groups, such as the men hanging out in one area. Could be ping pong, horseshoes, cooking at the barbecue, or watching a sporting event. Ladies, you can be found near the snacks, the kitchen, living room, or sitting around a table talking. Things happen when we gather. We may meet new people, reconnect with family and friends, share stories, start new ones, and catch up with each other. So what brings all of us, men, women, and children, together? When I was a kid growing up, my grandma would ring this large hand bell. We would come from miles, no matter what we were doing. Today, it could be a mom or dad's text, or as of late, a loud voice telling everyone, food is about to be served. The greatest part of the gatherings to me is the food. I really like to see the food all laid out, having someone say grace, thanking God for the banquet, and bringing us all together. Then comes the feast. Eating brings out the communication in all of us. After the meal, we recline until dessert. When I think of reclining, I think of my favorite recliner at home, feeling relaxed, lying back, and just chilling. Maybe this is what God intended when He asked everyone to recline. Relax, look around, absorb your surroundings, and do not think too much. Just soak in the loving feeling of being present and thank God for the blessings He's bestowed on you each day. Leave it to the topic of food to get everyone's attention. Not only did it get our attention, but it also got the attention of all four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is the only miracle story included in all four Gospels. In John's Gospel, each of his stories is like a puzzle piece of who Jesus is. Example would be, Jesus healed a man born blind. I am the light of the world. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. I am the resurrection and the life. In today's gospel, Jesus fed the people. I am the bread of life. Imagine we are all witnessing or hearing about Jesus healing people. Is this the Messiah? Would you follow Jesus to see his many miracles? How many of us here today have seen signs of Christ's healing, seeing God working through others, or about working through us? Jesus' miracle also reveals God's power to meet spiritual and physical needs. By teaching the people, Jesus attended to their spiritual hunger. By multiplying the loaves and fish for them, Jesus attended to the physical hunger. The feeding of the 5,000 reveals God's care for the whole person. This story teaches us that Jesus is indeed the Messiah. Today, in the story of the fishes and loaves, how do we see this gathering unfold? What would it be like if we were there on the mountain? Let's look at our Catholic Mass as a gathering event. Before attending a Mass, we are individually doing our own thing. If we are at home, we could be cleaning, watching TV, putting on makeup, or pulling the whole family together to make it to church on time. The church bell tower starts up, and you can hear the bells ringing. Time to gather. Mass is starting. Just like my grandma ringing the large bell, time to gather. Just recently, I discovered that the bells at Holy Spirit Church still work. Unfortunately, we do not ring them all the time. Several months ago, just before Mass, with Father Brandon's permission, Deacon Tim and I, like two little kids, calmly walked over to ring the bells. Okay, I admit it, we raced, and Deacon Tim won. When we got there, 2 ropes are hanging from the ceiling. You can only pull one of the ropes. Deacon Tim pulled down on the correct rope, and when he did this, he was then lifted up almost 5 feet from the ground. He looked like a yo-yo. I wish I had my cell phone to video this YouTube moment. The sound of the bells echoed out to Fremont, and everyone knew Mass was about to start at Holy Spirit Church. We all come from many directions and places, but we come to gather with God. In fact, if you know someone or family who cannot physically make it to Mass, Holy Spirit live streams this Mass or the 11 a.m. Mass over the internet. And if you like communion brought to you, this can be arranged. Like in today's gospel, we gather with Jesus. We come here to pray for help, wisdom, peace, thanks. We soon ask God and each other for forgiveness. We receive encouragement as we gather to hear the readings and the gospel. We listen and reflect on the homily. We let everyone hear our faith proclaimed. We give our intentions to God. We give what we can to God to keep this parish alive at the collection. And we set the table. And soon the priest will make God alive through the Eucharist, similar to Jesus' miracle of loaves and fish. Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them. The Eucharist stands not only for God's willingness to accompany us on the journey, but also for keen awareness of our needs and our weaknesses. In the gospel, there are no distinctions made between the disciples and the crowd. It is simply Jesus and the people. In the Eucharist, there is total equality. We are all one. This is the real image of a Christian community. After the communion, the consecrated hosts, or the bread of life, that have not been consumed, are put in the tabernacle. This is why we bow or genuflect before the tabernacle. God is present. He is always with us. And after we get back to our seats, we, as the gospel today puts it, we recline in our minds. We gather the experiences that God showed us recently, the things he put into our lives. We thank him for allowing us to know him and pray for the Holy Spirit to keep guiding us through our journey of life. We have been spiritually and physically filled, and at the end of Mass, we go in peace to love and serve the Lord and each other. So as we leave the mountain or Mass today, feeling spiritually and physically full, now what? And like the boy who had 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, we may feel like we offer very little. But with the help of God and a hunger to learn our faith, we can feed the spirit of many.